Alrighty then. What do we got here? January 15th, 2015, 5 p.m. And just wanted to do a little update video. I haven't responded or uploaded any videos or done anything here on the YouTube for probably give or take about a year. And I still get between 15 and 20, 30 comments a day between comments and personal emails that people send me. And, you know, I just wanted to do a little update, let people know where I'm at, what I'm doing, what I got going on in my life, and what the, you know, a little reminder of what the purpose of the original videos were and how that whole process and projects affected my life and what I'm doing today as a result. So I think the last thing that I put up was an update. For some reason my cat's all pretty needy right now, so she's probably going to interfere with this a little bit, so I apologize in advance for that. But I think the last video I did, to be honest with you, I'm not even sure what it was, but I think I did an update about a year ago, give or take, so no need to refresh my memory on that. I'll just kind of start from scratch here. But a couple of things that I wanted to really kind of reiterate or remind people, if you will. These videos have absolutely nothing to do with my name is Dave and I have all the answers. If anything, it's the complete opposite. And I went out to the woods 5 years ago because I found myself in a situation as a result of the collapse of the economy, the death of my father, and the proverbial end of the world as you know it. I just found myself at a point where I was financially starting over, and I didn't want to do the 40-hour week, 8 to 5 proverbial dream, grind and, you know, get an apartment and buy a little piece of shit car and start over. I wanted more than that, and some of the mistakes that I made in my life and the place that I found myself, I just knew that it was a perfect opportunity and a time for me to just kind of start over, just cleanse the old soul and face some of the fears and you know, start living the proverbial dream. And so 5 years ago when I went out, I was lost. As you've seen from the videos and the process, I was lost. I was completely, utterly lost. I had lost grasp of you know, essentially reality. And what you see in that first trip 5 years ago that's out here right now, you know, there was no real direction to what it was that I was doing. I was just throwing my hands in the air and throwing myself to the proverbial woods, or the wolves, and, you know, in the attempt to start over and try to face some of the things in my life. Kitty, I know. For some reason she's pretty needy right now, so we're just gonna have to put up with her coming in and out of the shot, trying to chew on my ears. So and a word to the wise, if you're going to communicate with a cat, meaning if she meows at you and you meow back, that's great for the first 6 months, but once she gets used to that, she's going to want to talk to you all the time, and whether you want to or not, she's going to be there. So love her to death. I've only had her for about 4 months, and she brings, you know, she just taps into that love and compassion side of me, and, you know, I love her. So bear with her if she comes back into the shot. But I know, baby. How are you? Anyway, just so like I said, everything that I put out in the first place, it had nothing to do with, hey, I think I got all the answers and look at me. It had everything to do with the fact that I had none of the answers and I was in the process of trying to find them. And I figured with the time, the way things are, the economy, the society, the way things are in the world, that people would enjoy the process. And I quite honestly thought that maybe I've always been I wear my heart on my sleeve and I'm not afraid to use it kind of guy. I'm always the guy that's willing to stand up and say what he thinks and feels, and I do my best to try to find a non-confrontational, non-judgmental kind of way to do that. And I've had a lot of people in my personal life prior to this process express that they thoroughly enjoyed spending time with me and my approach to life and my, you know, it's not really humble to say your humility, but I've had a lot of people, you know, surround me that enjoyed my process, and I've learned over the years that, you know, the true path to enlightenment is the acknowledgement that we don't know shit. So that's as much as I could. That's the process that I was taking, and that's ultimately the only reason why I put it out there was, hey everybody, my life sucks, maybe you can benefit from my journey. And once again, 20, 30 emails a month, 20, 30 comments a month, still with no interaction, no new videos, nothing new to the site. I'm very satisfied with that as a result, because there's not a day that goes by that I don't get an email from somebody that, at the simplest, even if they're upset and they're confronting me negatively about something, they're feeling. And as a result of something that I've done, it's invoked thought, feeling, and emotion with them enough to continue to watch. And even if I've angered them or frustrated them, or they have some sort of an opinion that I don't agree with, I've still accomplished what I wanted to accomplish by ultimately invoking thought and interaction. So I'm extremely grateful to that. And that, in a sense, is kind of what keeps me going on some of the other projects that I'm doing in my life, is this YouTube stuff, more or less an experiment in human nature and society, trying to figure out what people thought and felt about the way the world is and the way things are, and what we as individuals can do about it. So, so that's why I did what I did originally. And I put it out about 3 years ago, give or take, or about 2 years ago, about 3 years after I started the process. And I went out 3 years ago and was going to do another trip, had an amazing raft trip planned, and it was going to be the final chapter. I'd received a couple of different opportunities, one from Discovery Channel and one from another production company that wanted to produce a show, not only about me in the process, but what I do after the fact. And that's the one that I brought to the family. They weren't satisfied with my choice to continue with it, so unfortunately I let them affect my decision, and I tanked that whole idea. As a result of that, I told myself if I was going to walk away from that opportunity, I had to create one of my own. And I spent about 6 months planning the trip, spent about $18,000 getting amazing camera gear and wireless mics and an amazing raft. And the last piece of the puzzle was my little puppy. And about 3 weeks before I was due to set off on the trip, got the dog, and lo and behold, the dog had a parvo, and just the most beautiful dog you've ever seen. And I mean, I named him Chance, and it was all about him and I, throwing caution to the wind and taking our chances. And that really had. I'm sorry, I just realized that I've got my heater on right behind this, and it's probably going to affect the audio. So apologize for that. But so a couple of years ago, I had this trip planned with a raft. Dog got sick, just emotionally devastated me. So I did what I could to piece together a trip. Did it out of my van, and the effect of losing the dog and losing the original trip just quite honestly broke my heart, and kind of put me back a little bit in my progress. And so I did my trip, made the best of it, did a lot of fishing and having a good old time, met a lot of cool people, but it ultimately wasn't the closure to this project that I was looking for. So believe it or not, 2 years ago, I set out to do it again. And it's an interesting thing. The original journey, I would have said, the proverbial subject matter would have been, do you want to live or die? I literally found myself at a point where I questioned continuing was even worth it, and if I even wanted to continue in this world, on this, not on this planet, but whether life was even worth living, and the mistakes that I had made in my past, were they overcomable? Was I able to rise above that, learn from those mistakes, and move forward? And ultimately, the decision was made, trip one, which is what you guys are watching, that yes, absolutely, I do want to live. Well, it didn't take me really long to realize that just because you know what you want doesn't mean you know how to get it. So the last 4 years has been that process of, analyzing and reanalyzing and trying again and failing, and planning and preparing and learning and trying again and failing. Ultimately I was 36 when I went out and did it. I just had my 42nd birthday. So, 36 years of, a rough childhood as a foundation, and 20 plus years of idiotic, ridiculous, stupid, immature, irresponsible decisions. I had buried myself under a pretty significant mountain of pain and shame, and the punishment fits the crime. I've had a lot of people say to me, man, you're still working on this stuff. Well, the effort and the time and the energy that I've put in is directly proportionate to the amount of pain and the amount of heartache that I had in my life. And some people will hear that and say, man, that's just weakness. Yeah, exactly. It's just weakness. Pain and heartache and bad choices and irresponsibility and piss poor choices and selfishness and greed and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, that'll make a person weak. And I started this process 6 years ago, trying to reestablish who I was and where I fit. And once again, just because you know where you don't want to be doesn't mean you know where you're going. And it sure as hell doesn't mean you know how you're going to get there. So the process has been long. It's been arduous. It's been a painful journey filled with successes and failures. But the thing that I truly enjoy about my life today is I still have failures every day. But as a general rule, I start out here and I try and I try and I try and I try and I get to here and then I fail and I get to here and then I try and I try and I try and I fail and then I get to here and then I continue to consistently, even if it's not at the pace that I would like or others would prefer, I continually find myself growing and learning and changing and evolving. And there's a long list of things in my life now that I just will never do, and there's a long list of things in my life that I will always do. And through my complete utter tear it all down, face my fears, there was a period in the video, I'm gonna sit up here. There was a period in the video, or there was a period in the trip that I realized that I was in the woods. I'd been there about 14 days. And, I was shutting down camp at 9:30 and lighting a big old fire and going in and closing the door and putting my headlamp on, and I had a gun, I had a knife, I had a hatchet, and I was literally, metaphorically and literally hiding from the dark because I was afraid of the dark. Because when you've gone through and done the things that I've done in life, you're not really proud of yourself. You're not really satisfied with who you are. And as a result, that's going to create and breed fear. And I quickly realized that, quickly, it took me a long damn time to realize this. But in that process, I realized that I was hiding. And if you're ultimately afraid of the dark, you're never going to get to the light. And in this first trip, day 12, 14, I just decided, you know what, screw it. I'm going to take it off. I'm going to strip it away and I'm going to walk into the night. About 1 o'clock in the morning, I took my headlamp off, took the flashlight off, took the gun off, took the knife off, took the hatchet off, walked out into the night. And I screamed and yelled, and I was filled with fear. I thought something or someone was chasing me. My mind was playing tricks on me. But between 1 o'clock and about 4:15, 4:30 in the morning, found a little hole in a stump and kind of just bedded down and just started processing and allowed myself to be scared, allowed myself to face the fact that I was genuinely to the core scared for my life. And before you know it, 4:15, 4:30 in the morning, I heard the birds start chirping. And next thing you know, it starts getting a little lighter and a little lighter and a little lighter. And by 5:15, 5:30 in the morning, the sun started to come up, or the light started to come up. And I was just filled with this overwhelming feeling. If I can make it through that, I can make it through anything. And through my process, those are the types of experiences that I would have never experienced if I wasn't in that environment. And, sure, for a lot of people on the planet, doing what I did, stripping it away, selling it all, going and dumping yourself off in the middle of the wilderness, probably wasn't the, the most logical thing for most people to do. But for me, I knew that where I was at in my life, there was no way that I could continue to move forward unless I went backwards. And the first trip, I was only able to face the things that had happened to me. There's a video in there entitled Breakthrough, where I talk a lot about my mother, my father, in a business that we had together in my early 20s. And I think if people watch that, I would hope that they realize it's about an hour and a half long. It's incredibly painful, screaming, yelling, tears, just your proverbial nervous breakdown. And for me, I made the association really quick in that process that in order to change who I was and in order to face who I was, I had to deal with me as a person. Not as a son, not as a brother, not as an employee. I had to deal with me as an individual on the planet interacting with society, and I had to accept responsibility for my choices and my behavior. The amazing thing that happened to me was once I stripped it all away and no longer allowed myself the opportunity to make excuses, justify my behavior, and blame other people. Once I accepted full responsibility for who I was and how I was, the amazing thing happened that it made it unbelievably easy to turn around and forgive other people, because the things that I was doing in my life, I was doing them out of anger. I was doing them out of hurt. I was doing them out of fear. I was doing them out of the inability to come up with a better solution to what I was up against. And for me, once I started realizing that I'm ultimately responsible for my choices and my behavior, it made it unbelievably simple to forgive the people around me and to understand where they were at when they were doing what they were doing. Because I was doing dickhead things in my adult life that I was solely responsible for, but the reason I was doing those dickhead things was fear, insecurity, doubt, guilt, hate, anger. I was feeding that proverbial monster. And once I accepted responsibility for who and how I was, it was an inevitable transition into going back and looking at my family and other situations in my life that deeply hurt me and realizing they were doing those things for the same damn reasons. So it makes it a lot easier to forgive oneself once you accept full responsibility for who you are and the things that take place in your life. But the amazing icing on that cake is before you know it, I forgave everybody around me. And I no longer had the chip on my shoulder because I knew who I was. And I started, for the first time in my life, literally actively participating in my own happiness. So, 5 years ago, 6 years ago, trip starts, go to another one a couple of years later, go to another one a couple of years ago. They're never going to be the same as the first one, because the first one, where I was at, warranted and justified doing what I was doing. But the last couple of years, I didn't need to be going to the woods. I didn't need to be running and hiding. I didn't need to be going and facing anything anymore. I needed to pick my damn self up by the bootstraps and start living my life. And as a result of not doing that for 20, 30 years, that wasn't a common assumption. It wasn't a logical, practical thing to do. And it didn't click in my head that I have an old saying, and it's having all the answers but toiling over the question. I was so used to asking the questions in life and not having the answers that once I found the answers, I continued to ask the questions for a couple of more years. And about a year and a half ago, give or take, I just finally decided. I've got some other projects that I'm working on that this saying applies to. But I realized and I wrote this a couple of years ago in a song, I just realized about a year and a half ago that it's my life, my choice, my life, I messed it all up. It's my chance, my choice, my life, my voice. And when you grow up in an environment like I did, and then you go and you do stupid, irresponsible, disrespectful, neglectful, hurtful, selfish, self-medicating, self-mutilating things like I've done throughout my life, it doesn't breed confidence, and it's not something that sets you up to believe in yourself and even the world for that matter. And I lost track of that. And I'll be the first one to tell anybody that's willing to listen, Mother Nature saved my ass. Stripping away society and the influence and the traffic and the fast food and the sex and everything else. Once I stripped all that away and slowed my life down to the point of watching the squirrels breed and watching the birds fly and the bugs come in and eat their food that I was feeding them and the different things. Once I slowed my life down, I literally was able to reset my existence. I was able to take all of the good and all of the bad from my life, and in that process, kind of just throw it all up in the air and pick up the pieces that I wanted to. And, I'm very proud of myself. I'm very proud of myself for having the balls to do what I did. And more importantly, I'm extremely proud of who I am today and what I've done as a result. So let's fast forward into where I'm at today and what I've got going on in my life. And actually, before I do that, I want to address a couple of things. I get it really always surprises me that people make public comments when they're negative, but people make email shout outs to me when they're positive. And I'm not going to say that's blanket the facts, and that's the way that it is. But I would say 70% of the comments that I get on the page is essentially negative. 30% of it is incredibly positive, and gosh, I again, I appreciate all comments, but the positive ones, the people that get what I've done and respect that and are doing similar things in their life, the comments that they make, the extensions of hey, if you're ever in Mississippi, come over and I'll put you on the fish. Hey, if you're ever in Seattle, come up and we'll cook you a meal. The people that get what I'm doing and what I've done, you guys renew my hope in the planet. There is people out there that are still trying and willing to go backwards in order to go forwards, and have learned from their mistakes and are moving on, trying to be better people. And I have unbelievable respect, admiration, appreciation, and love for every single one of you that watch, period. But the ones that have identified and extended me an offer, an invitation, I get men telling me they love me every day, and it's always an amazing experience for me to have, and I truly appreciate that. The negative comments, once again, you got to take the good with the bad, and I wanted to stimulate thoughts, feelings, and emotions within people through what it was that I was doing. I was doing what I was going to do no matter what. I just decided to take a camera with me to document it for myself. After a couple of weeks, I realized, hey, this might be kind of cool when it's all done. So, excuse me. The negative comments, it reminds me a lot, forgive me for being presumptuous, but the people that comment negatively remind me a lot of myself. I used to, get emotionally stimulated in a good, bad, or indifferent way. And because I didn't know what to do, I didn't know where I stood on the planet, I didn't know who I was, I didn't know what was important to me, I didn't know my own self, I typically reacted in a way that wasn't the typical way that you would react. And I was challenged by somebody else's success, or if somebody was talking about making changes in their life and I wasn't making changes in mine, I'd lash out or I'd squeeze them out of my circle. And that's exactly what happens on a regular basis with me. You see a lot of people, it always blows my mind when somebody will make a comment, hey dude, you stacked your wood too close to the tent. If that catches on fire, you'll burn down. I don't know if you've ever been in the woods or not, but it takes you about 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 10 days to become one with your environment. I can hear a raccoon 200 yards away from me eating a nut. So odds are, if a pile of wood caught on fire, I think I'd probably wake up before it burnt me to death. So, albeit, yeah, sure, you probably shouldn't stack wood right next to your tent. If you notice, there was a tarp over the top of it, and there was a reason for that. And again, for me, those kind of comments, they're always interesting because somebody watches an hour-long video and then makes a comment about a wood pile. And for me, I don't want to be judgy and completely assuming what other people are thinking and feeling and what they're doing and why they're doing it. But at the end of the day, if I was in that situation, I would have made the same comment because I wasn't ready to really embrace what it was that I was watching. So I hope that doesn't offend anybody, and if it does, so be it. I apologize, but that's my 2 cents. Get a lot of comments about, oh, you got a parking lot right down the way. You're not in the middle of nowhere, you're in the back of the Walmart parking lot, or you're in the city park. I hope that people have watched enough to realize that where I was in the Northwest up here, you go to a place called Salachi Prairie, which is about 30 miles, give or take, from the main town of Vancouver, just across the bridge from Portland, Oregon. You go to this town, Salachi Prairie, and then you go about 36 miles down a gravel road. There ain't a building in that 36 miles. There's not a structure, there's not a store, there's not a gas station, there's not a ranger station, there's absolutely nothing in this 36-mile stretch. Where I was camped was 36 miles in, and it was another 40 miles out the other side to come out to a podunk town in the Columbia River Gorge. So when I reference a parking lot, because a lot of times in the videos I'll say, there's a parking lot, in the parking lot, or somebody showed up and they were in the parking lot. The parking lot that I'm referring to is there's an old logging camp landing that was cleared 100 years ago when they came in and logged this area, and I call that particular area a parking lot. I don't, again, with what I said about other people talking about a fire or something like that, I understand why somebody would assume or make a judgment that I wasn't where I was. You know, I can give you plenty of evidence to the contrary. So, 36 miles down a gravel road out in the middle of nowhere, you know, on that stretch of the road, you know, I may have a car go by once a week, maybe twice a week. So, the type of place where if I took you out in the middle of the night, opened the door, you took a pee, and I drove away, you're going to have a rough night because it was wilderness. Not only was it wilderness, but you can find videos in there of bears. I was out in the middle of nowhere. So not really sure why it was necessary for me to bring that up, but it just, I think it's important to me that people understand that there's no tomfoolery here. There was no trickery. There was no, oh, I'm setting up these videos because I want views. I could give a shit less about the views. The views had no relevance to me at all. And if they did, I would have interacted with people, had a Facebook, attached everything, but that wasn't important to me. What was important to me was doing what I was doing, and I wanted to afford people the opportunity to watch the process in the hopes that it might have an impact on their lives. So, once again, over the last 5 years, the first one was with Discovery Channel 5.5 years ago. They wanted to do a show called The Return Trip, and they wanted to give me some money and watch me start my life over. And ultimately, you know, it didn't take a long time for me to realize they wanted to watch me fail, and I didn't want to be part of that. So I turned that down. 3 or 4 other ones in the last couple of years. And about 2 years ago, I got approached by another company that was doing a show on National Geographic called Ultimate Survivor Alaska. And believe it or not, I have to laugh when I look back because I really seriously entertained doing that show. And that was 12 months alone in the wild. And, you know, backpack, buck knife, you know, let's see what you do. Self-taught or self-shot, no camera crew, no nothing. And, you know, once a month they bring you some food. They change out your SD cards and your batteries and drop it off in a cache somewhere. And, you know, you have to hike in 5 miles to get it, and then you exchange your stuff. You don't see anybody, and then you go back to your camp and live your dream. I almost did that. I came very close to doing that, and a friend of mine kind of challenged me one night and said, "What are you doing, dude? Why would you do this? You've already done this." My journey had nothing to do with surviving the elements, had nothing to do with surviving nature. It had everything to do with removing society out of my personal process. So not only was my first journey not about survival, I think I killed 2 squirrels. Other than that, no. I'm a catch and release fly fisherman. I don't like to hunt. I'd rather live on macaroni and cheese and peanut butter and jelly for the rest of my life before I'd go and kill an animal. It's just not, you know, it's just not for me. So to have made the choice to do what I did 5-6 years ago, and to have done it in the way that I've done it, and then because of a couple $100,000, entertain the idea of going out and living off the land and being 100% alone. A friend of mine come up to me, confronted me like, "Dude, what are you doing, man? You did this already. You do not need to go do this again." And through that conversation, I remember saying that my original trip had nothing to do with surviving. It had everything to do with living. And this particular show was 100% survival based. I do not want to survive. I spent 35 years of my life surviving. For me, the final chapter of my life is about living. And I wanted to figure out the best possible way for me personally to do that, interact with the world in a positive way. And going and holding a camera like this and talking to myself about killing a deer that day, that just didn't do anything for me. So I walked away from that, turned that down. But at the same time, it's about a year ago, I had to make a choice. I had to make a decision that I had spent so long out of the business world and so long out of being a productive member of society that I needed to just dive back in. I needed to just get my feet wet again, take one of these projects and one of these ideas that I'd worked on over the years and just shove it to the finish line and see how it went. So I totally shouldn't do this because I'm in my house, but I'm going to smoke a cigarette just because I'm sitting here running my mouth. which I haven't done in a while, and quite honestly, it gave me a little bit of a headache even thinking about doing it today. But I was motivated by an email I got. I'll talk about that in the end. But actually, my girlfriend just sent me a message. I want to make sure that I'm not forgetting anything there. I apologize. So about a year and a half ago, about a year ago, it was just time. It was time to get back in the game. It was time to actively participate in my happiness. I had a goal and I knew where I was at in life, but some of the things in my life I was doing still weren't getting me closer to that goal. So I decided, you know what, let's do something simple, quick and easy, and let's swing for the fences. So I went out and I've always had a business mind. I've always been one of those guys that can just shove something to the finish line, and I've always been really good at picking something that works. So, believe it or not, of all things, marijuana was just legalized here in the state of Washington 2 years ago, and as a result, I've got some friends that work in the head shop business, and I decided, you know what, let's just print up some stickers. They're cheap. I can print them on the internet, 10 cents a piece. You sell a sticker for $3-4 a piece. You know, maybe there's a chance to do something there. So, I wasn't planning on showing this, but I started. This is just one of the displays, but I don't know if you can see that well enough. There's just, I live in Washington, so I've got the Oregon and Washington. Got the Oregon and Washington logo here with a marijuana sticker in the middle. Puff Puff Pass is just an old term of mine that I've always liked. I can't tell if you can see any of that or not, but then we got a little Puff Puff piece, and then we got, Portland has a sticker called Keep Portland Weird, and I just figured if Portland could be weird, Washington can be high. So I said, keep Washington high, get Oregon high, and then one on the bottom that's a play on the thank you for not smoking, but it's thank you for pot smoking. The business name, I don't know if you can see it here, but is thelittledude.com. And right now, we're going a whole nother direction. So that website is fairly inactive right now. But, excuse me. What happened was I spent about $3,000 on some stickers and printed them up, made a logo, made a little cheap ass website, called up a couple of head shops, made 3 or 4 phone calls. Spent $1,100 on stickers, but another $1,500 over that on licenses and crap like that. I was vested about $3,500 and made 2 or 3 phone calls. Sold 3,750 stickers to one place at $1.75 a piece. So made $7,500. And then made another phone call the same day and took another order from another distributor for another 1,500 stickers. So with a $2,800 investment in 2 phone calls in 2 weeks, playing around with Photoshop, I was able to generate about $10,000 in profit. And believe it or not, because of who and how I am and where I've come from and the success that I've had in my life before, I stopped. It wasn't important to me. What I did, I didn't want to be in the pot sticker business. It wasn't something that I was deeply proud of. It wasn't something that I could really hang my hat on and really be proud of as a business. And for me, it wasn't about generating an income and starting a business. It was about proving to myself that I still had it in me. So that's a year ago. And I decided about a week after this whole thing happened that I just didn't want to be in the pot sticker business. And I know pot stickers are food, but it's just kind of funny. That I didn't want to be in the pot sticker business. So I let it go. I put all the stuff in a box. I put it in a corner of the room and just forgot about it. And didn't really have any desire ever to pick it up and do anything with it. Selling a few here and there, still on the website and eBay and stuff like that. Making a couple $100 a month, but not making a living. And like the crazy guy I am, I decided to go back to pounding nails. I decided that I needed another year of my life to remind me what I don't want to do. And during the last year, focused all my energies on my writing, my lyrics, finding some editors to play around with this footage and just pursue some of the other things that are more important to me. And I knew through the stickers that I had proven to myself that I could still do it, that this world you can still succeed in if you make a decision, a commitment, and go for it. But at the same time, I've always been a firm believer that intimately I've always said, and it's a tacky saying, but I've always said if my heart's not in it, my dick's not either. Well, this project, I knew immediately that my heart wasn't in it, and I wasn't going to put my time and energy into something that I knew I didn't care about or believe. So I just put it on the back burner and started working on the things that I did care about. And over the last year, just really started going in the direction of my dreams and had learned from my mistakes and come up with that list of do's and don't do's enough to where I don't have major upswings and downswings in my life anymore. Things are pretty damn consistent. Sure, we'd always like to have a little more money and make more money, and it'd be nice if this happened or this happened, but my life doesn't revolve around anything that doesn't come from me and out of me, and I actively participate in my happiness. And the people that I have in my life now are amazing, amazing, amazing individuals, and the relationships that I have today have nothing to do with the people that I have a relationship with. It has everything to do with me and who I am and what I contribute to that relationship. That to me, I feel is fulfillment. That is success and that is satisfaction. And it's something that I'm very proud of. And it's amazing what happens when you do the things that I've done and you face the things to the level that I have and you accept full responsibility for your own behavior and your own place in this world. It's amazing what happens next, because once you free yourself up from the guilt and the fear and the insecurity and all that, the only thing left to do is just have a damn good time and be kind, be good, be honest, be humble, be helpful, be courteous. And the other thing that's kind of cool about it is some of the people in my life are douchebags. Some of the people in my life are selfish, irresponsible, immature, just fucking adult children. But I love them. And the only way that I can have a better relationship with them, and love is an action, it's not a word, it's not a sentence. And the people in my life that even I have problems with, all I can do to assist in that situation is try to love them better and try to be a better person for myself and ultimately with them. And if they decide to come along on the journey, that's great. If they don't, I'm not going to be disappointed. I'm not going to be mad. I'm going to continue to help them any way that I can, but only to the point where it starts to hurt myself. And once things start to hurt myself, that's no longer right for me. I believe that if you do what's truly right for yourself, everybody around you benefits. Helping somebody else to the point where it hurts me is not right for me. I can't do it. I move on. So I was a giver, man. I'd give anybody everything because I wanted people to love me, accept me, and like me. And I stopped that. And what I realized in the last couple of years is you can't ever stop giving. You can't ever stop exposing yourself to the other people and the other things in the world. But what you have to do is you have to defend yourself. You have to protect yourself. You cannot allow yourself to do things for the wrong reasons first and foremost, but more importantly, you can't do things to the point where they start to hurt yourself if you're doing them in the name of helping, because that's not going to benefit them and it's not going to benefit you. So, I get accused from time to time of being a little preachy. I hope that I'm not coming across as somebody telling people what to do, what I'm doing, and what I'm intending to do. And if I'm failing at it, I apologize. What I intend to do with my life from now on is do everything I possibly can to be a better person. And the amount of people that surround me and the amount of people that come to my house and the amount of people that come to my door and call me and email me because they want to be part of what I'm doing has confirmed for me enough that I'm good and I'm doing the right thing for the right reasons, and that's becoming viral within my environment and within my circle, and that's a direct result of my choices. So it is amazing that maybe you can't change the world, but you can change your world, and if you're changing your world in a positive way for yourself, it will benefit all the people around you, and it will strengthen relationships, and it may end relationships because you realize you're doing it for the wrong reasons. But that ultimately will be the better result for everybody, because if you're in a relationship with somebody that you don't respect or you don't like or you shouldn't be there, or you're there for the wrong reasons, if you're not doing it for the right way, if you're not doing it for the right reason and in the right way, it's going to negatively impact everybody that touches that scenario. So just another one of those lessons I've learned. So about 7 months ago, I met a girl, and she's fucking awesome. And she's got as much shit in her past as I do. She's got as much problems as I do. But for the first time in my life, I find myself in a place I've never been. And that's, I care more about her than I do myself. I care more about her happiness than I care about mine. I care more about, because that is doing what's truly right for me. And it doesn't mean I put my needs aside. What it means is I've learned that in order to catch flies, you got to give some honey. And the trials and tribulations and the difficulty we've had in our process have not only not killed us, but they've only made us stronger. And I used to think that, oh, you put your life in perspective, you go out there, you make a bunch of money, you take over the world, and then you find love, and then you're fulfilled. I didn't realize until the day I met her that this life ain't worth living without love. And you've got to love yourself before you can love anybody else. And that's what I've done for the last 4 or 5 years. And my choices in my life and her choices in her life put us together at a place where at the simplest we can help each other. And I probably shouldn't say this because people don't like it when I say this, but who knows if we live happily ever after? I don't know. That's not my intention. I'm not here loving her, encouraging her, supporting her, loving her because I want her to love me back. I'm doing it because that's right for me. And in the event that she does and we live happily ever after, obviously icing on the cake. But if it doesn't work the way that we would all want it to work, I'm not going to lose 2 seconds worth of sleep over that, because I have to do what's right for me. And giving and loving and caring and evolving and sharing and supporting and encouraging is what's right for me. If that doesn't work out the way that I would have liked it to do it, that's spilt milk at that point. I've always said, I've recently come up with a new term that is, don't do it for the don't do it for the result, do it for the reason. Excuse me, I'm drinking a little soda here. Getting me a little burpy, so I apologize. I've recently started saying, don't do it for the result, do it for the reason. And if you go out and your reason is to make a shitload of money, yeah, you're probably going to do that, but the result's not going to be what you wanted. And I've learned that that's not the way for me. And it may be for others, but it's not the way for me, and it doesn't work for me. I'm too active in my heart and soul and my conscience to wake up every single day and go manipulate a sales meeting or something like that to try to generate more money so I can feel good about myself. That doesn't make me feel good. It makes me feel bad. It hurts me. It embarrasses me. It pisses me off. And then it ultimately backfires and it sucks my motivation out of me and breaks my damn heart. So I don't do that. So with the relationship and my girl, yeah, it's a struggle every day. It's a process every single day. You're intertwining 2 lives and 2 reasons and 2 motives and two sets of experiences, and it's a process. I'm not going to lie, but it's a process that I enjoy. It's a process that I love, and once again, it's a process that I'm proud of. So with her in my life in the last 7-8 months, I guess it's been about 7 months. With her in my life the last 7 months, 3 or 4 months ago, we got a place together, and once again, I'm still pounding nails, setting tile, building showers, doing kitchen remodels and stuff like that, just to keep the bills paid and keep moving forward, and affording me the opportunity to pursue some of the other things. But we got a place together, a little 2-bedroom, brand new apartment. Don't have a lot of furniture, don't have a lot of other things, but we have a front door, and she comes through it every day, and I go through it every day, and life is good. And life is good as a result of facing the things in my life that weren't good. And so most recently in the business world, I decided the sticker thing is a profitable thing. And I decided through this process and my openness and my communication and the little bit of a talent that my mother gave me when it comes to writing, I started collecting my sayings. I realized when I was a kid that when I was younger that there's a lot of things that I didn't learn as a child, and there was a lot of things that I missed. and there was nobody on the planet that was going to come along and reparent me and start me over in life and give me a second chance. So I started accumulating and collecting and writing these little sayings that constantly keep me motivated and keep me moving forward in my life. Actively participate in your own happiness. Obviously, we've all heard that one before, but face your fears, live your dreams. If you do what's truly right for yourself, everyone around you will benefit. Admitting you're a douchebag frees you up to be a real man. If my heart's not in it, my dick's not either. I collected those sayings over the years, and the vast majority of them are mine, written by myself. Some of them are very similar to others, and some of them are ones that I've just heard in my travels and I've claimed as my own. I've started another sticker business. I've decided to go another direction with that business, and about 4 months ago I started just pounding it to the finish line, and I'm about 2 weeks away from the launch of that. And it's one of those things. I put 20 years of thought into it. I put 4, 5, 6 straight months of work into it. I spent about 10 hours a day. I've got about 175 stickers, individual sayings and layouts and colors and stuff. And within those 175, I've done a color version, a white on black, a black on white version. Each one of those files takes about 7 minutes to do. By the time I'm done, I'll have invested about 3 straight months of effort and energy into editing and building each document, building each file, getting it finalized, getting it onto the website. And about a month ago, I decided to not only do the stickers, but I was going to offer the same images on t-shirts. So then there's another 300, because you got a white shirt and you got a black shirt. There's another 300 files that I had to build and create. I had a partner that was doing the website work for me, and that didn't work out. Communication issues, and we went our separate ways. So I was dropped in my lap a half-finished website that I didn't know shit about websites. I've spent the last 2 months teaching myself web design and HTML and stuff like that, and have pretty much got to the point where I'm at the finish line on that. Within the next couple of weeks, we're going to launch, and doing a pretty good